Hello everybody and hi, my name is Kieran and welcome to Unfamiliar. This is a game, I'll give you two guesses who it's recommended by. This is a game that deals with Alzheimer's, I believe, and just general dementia. So if you don't want to see a game about that, I have roughly 200 other much happier videos that you can check out. But I'm curious to see what it's like, want to see how they represent it. Let's go. Let's play Unfamiliar. December 2018, the day I became a man. Was that my beefy arm right there? You wake up. A strong arm drapes across you from the other side of your bed. Your bedroom is barely lit, with the winter sunrise scarcely noticeable outside. Apologies for my terrible reading. This is exactly what I love, though. Winter's my favorite season, undeniably. I love it. It's starting to snow up here, and then it melted away. Ooh, The Temptations. The Temptations of Snow. George's favorite album, The Temptations' greatest hits. He's very proud of his vast collection of vinyl records. Attaboy. Set a barf bag. Shopping list from yesterday. It reads milk, butter, potatoes, cheddar cheese, thyme, ham, rolls, green beans, mushroom soup, apples, sugar. Very riveting information. What are you? Your children insisted you get one of these new high-tech cell phones, but you find them unnecessary. At least George has been able to teach you a bit. He's always been much more hip than you. Much like me. That's how I'll be in my old age. Despondent. An old black and white photo of your wedding to George. Seeing it every morning makes you feel young again. Nice. It's almost Halloween as of recording this. I'm angry that we're not getting snow. That's gonna stick around. Your daughter Sarah with her cat boots. You think you should probably get more recent one with her husband and her daughter. Oh, with her cat, comma, boots. And more recent one with her husband and her daughter. I see what you're saying. And tree. A painting of your house. Your son Charles made it for you back in high school. He was always good at everything he did. Good lad. That's my happy place. Last year when I saw the first snowfall of the winter, I just looked up from my computer. I looked up out the window and it was snowing for the first time of the year. And I just started tearing up because I love snow so much. It makes me so happy. Isn't it? Your husband George, you've shared this bed for over 40 years. Probably get a new mattress, yet waking up with him every morning still feels like a fairy tale. That is good. That's the dream. That's love right there. I like that. That's a good thing. You've been waking up earlier than usual, which is strange having been set in your ways for so long. You quietly roll to the side of the bed, away from your husband, trying not to disturb him. You learned early in your marriage that it's best to let him sleep. Once out of bed, you notice just how cold it is in the room. You fumble in the dim light to find your robe. It isn't on the hanger where you usually leave it. Where could it have gone, you think? In my natural voice. After a few more minutes of looking, you abandon the search, head to your closet, try to find something to slip into. Something comfortable. You're glad you're up so early. Now you have the chance to start on some of the long Christmas Eve dishes without the distractions of your company. Is he a distracting whippersnapper, that lad? You enter the kitchen and begin preparing... Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all some facts right here. Turkey is overrated. It is dry, it's not appetizing. I don't enjoy turkey. Never had duck, so I can't say one way or the other. Hey, my like. You pull the ham from the freezer, begin to run some water to thaw it in. I thought that was like an explosion behind her. Grandma went kaboom. Despite forgetting the time in the potatoes gratin, dinner is perfect. Your husband spent the whole day at the piano, filling the house with Christmas tunes. Too bad he's deaf. Would have been real nice otherwise. Your son Charles ran some errands while your daughter Sarah and her husband Arthur entertained your granddaughter Abigail, even letting her take a turn mashing the potatoes. Oh, that's cute. Is that her there? She's got some... well, she's got her grandma's face, to be fair. Unless that's grandma. And then that's mom? And who are you? Are you a man? I don't know who any of these people are. Who are you? That's a dude. Sarah's husband, Arthur. They've been married almost 10 years. Ooh, nice. This is Abby? Your granddaughter Abigail. She reminds you so much of Sarah. Sarah? Your daughter Sarah. She inherited George's love of music and now teaches piano. You're me. You're my son Charles. He seems to be working all the time, and you're thankful whenever you get to see him. That's kind of like me. Oh, an elephant! When Abigail was a baby, you brought her a stuffed elephant, and it's since been her favorite toy. Last Christmas, she brought you one, so hers would have a friend to play with when she visits. That is cute. Man, I love kids. They can suck sometimes, but they can also be really pure. They're human. Basically, humans suck sometimes, but they can also be pretty chill. Is that a pie? Apple pie. Apple caramel pie? You've cooked it in the same way for 40 years. Wouldn't feel like Christmas without one. Just ambient. Is that George? George, it's George, your husband. You rarely see him without a smile on his face. I thought I read it before, that's why I stuttered there, sorry. And is that an RV trip? An old picture of the RV you and George An old picture of the RV you and George called home for a year. His music career was taking off and you traveled the country with him. You wonder what life would have been like if you never had kids. Oh. I mean, you look happy. Well, I mean, he looks happy. Maybe you're depressed. Family portrait when Sarah and Charles were young. Is that a blank portrait? You keep waiting for Sarah and Arthur to give you a photo of their family to hang here. Oh. Yeah, my grandma's got stuff like that too. Okay, I think that's everything in this room. Let's leave them. Halfway through the meal, the conversation slows and the tone seems to shift. Your children exchange a few glances and excuse themselves before dessert. Their raised voices down the hall are indiscernible, but their tone suggests a heated debate. You think you hear your name pop up, but you decide to distract your granddaughter with a story. Ooh, that's awkward. Abigail, how would you like to hear of the story of the time I traveled in... No, I think rode an elephant in India. That'd be the coolest story for a kid, for sure. I want to hear that story, but I think that's more captivating. Abigail sits at the table next to you, giggling at the thought of her nana on the back of such a large animal. Yeah. Oh, what song? He looks like, step up, I'm ready to go. Miss about to throw hands with Grandma. Later that night, you share some wine and stories. Later that night, you share some wine and stories with the adults. Your children are back to laughing and smiling, but you catch them a few times giving you concerned looks. Why? You ignore them because tonight you just want to celebrate. What are you doing? George was never the best dancer, but he always did put his heart into it. Oh, because that's my arm. That's my concerningly frail-looking arm. That's a good dancing man right there. A quith with twee. You used to go cut your own tree every year, but you bought a fake one a few years ago after George nearly took his foot off. Yeah, my family's allergic to nature, so we always have to have a fakie. What are you? It's Charles' graduation photo. You knew ever since he was a child that he'd be successful at anything he did. Ah, what a good lad. Stockings. George fills your stockings with your favorite treats every Christmas Eve. That's the husband I want to be. That is so thoughtful. I love that. I love this relationship. Y'all look cute. You're cute, dang it. Thankfully, George is tall enough to place a star on top of the tree. No, you can probably just... Okay, I think we're good on this room. What's next? George requests a dance and asks you to choose the music. This... Oh, no, wait. Oh, he's so sweet to me. I should play one of his songs. The Temptations, my girl. Yeah. You put on the song and George gives you a huge smile. For the first time in a while, everything makes sense. The next morning, you venture from your room to meet the family for presents. Despite waking up at 6 a.m., you're the last one in the living room. Yeah, parents with a young child, I can't imagine they sleep very much. Abigail beams when you enter. It's clear she was made to wait for you. You barely have time to grab some coffee and pick through your stocking before she's ripped open all but her last gift. When you finally sit down, Abigail hands you a present, matching the one she carries. Mom made me wait to open mine with you, she said begrudgingly. You snicker at her impatience and slowly unwrap the small box. Oh, I'll teach you some manners, you ungrateful twit. It's from all of us, Sarah says. We think it'll help. You look down at the unwrapped gifts. It's a leather-bound journal with a fancy floral design on the cover. It's beautiful, but you're not able to hide your lack of enthusiasm. Well, she seems pretty happy about it, old Abby. Be happy with her. Come on, man. Who's killing each other out there? Even though they're growing, your kids still love hosting a friendly snowball fight. It has been so many years since... Have I ever been in a snowball fight? Have I lived in Canada for 20 years but never had a snowball fight? Yeah, because at school they never let you make snowballs. You weren't allowed to throw snowballs at each other, which is a bogus rule. No, I did once. Only once? I did once with friends, because I didn't have many friends as a child. This episode's revealing more things wrong with me than with our protagonist, I feel. A fireplace? When you and George bought this house, a chimney was always one of the things you both knew you had to have. What about you, Abigail? Abigail loves drawing. You're thankful she at least enjoyed the gift. Yeah. Oh, wait, can I say? Normally you'd love such thoughtful present. You know they're just trying to help, but you feel a bit hurt. Oh. Did they give you that and then just book it outside and start belting each other? Have I ever had a gift that I couldn't mask my lack of enthusiasm? Not since I was a kid. I've always made a point of being enthusiastic with a gift. You can still tell though when I'm seriously enthusiastic, because I get like I just get like speechless when I open them. Just like if I have nothing to say, that usually means it's a good gift. Abigail's parents explained to her how she can use it to draw or write stories or make lists of things so she doesn't forget. You can't help but feel slightly betrayed. You sit in silence and finally look up to your family. You think you see a tear forming in your husband's eye. Dang, I don't know. Forcing a smile, it's not a habit you want to get into. It gets tiring. Just say thank you. You know they're right. Maybe you'll start writing in it today. December. Hold on. December, January, April, May, June, July, August. Is that right? Hold on. Seven months later? Is that correct? Am I correct in that? I don't actually know the orders of the months. Because there's only one order of the months. You wake up. A strong arm drapes across you from the other side of your bed. Your bedroom is brighter than you're used to. Did you oversleep? You check the clock. 8:12. Is that still George? Your husband, George. You're thankful to have someone like him. You're not sure what you'd do without him. That's sweet. I'm gonna save the book for last. Ooh, has his music taste shifted? George's album. He's been adding to his collection a lot lately. Good lad. A little bit of Ray Charles. That's nice. I've never listened to him. A painting of your house looks much nicer in the painting. Oh. That ain't what you want. Is that still the same photo? Your daughter, Sarah, with her cat. Mittens? Socks? Oh. Oh, I see. An old black and white photo of your wedding to George. You look and feel less and less like the woman in that photo every day. You've started playing some memory games. Some days you do much better than others. What's in the book? The journal your family got you for last Christmas. You've grown to treasure it, thank goodness. Using it to record all sorts of stories from your past, as well as keep track of daily activities. Good. That's good. I could probably do that. I have an abysmal memory. Not Alzheimer's, I don't think, but an abysmal memory, nonetheless. Sarah will be here with her family in less than an hour. You scramble out of bed, urging George to do the same. You waited that long? You can't blame him for sleeping in. You've always been his alarm clock. Years of working late nights seem to have permanently changed his biological clock. Fair enough. In the closet you find a light sundress. Perfect for the mild autumn weather. You finish getting dressed, but George is still propped up in bed. You snap at him to start getting ready. Hey, come on. We got the children coming. They're gonna eat each other alive if we don't hurry. George pauses and slowly says, I'm not going with you today. You look at him confused. What do you mean? It's the last week before Abigail starts school. You and George had always taken the kids to the zoo the last week of summer break. It was tradition for Sarah and Charles when they were young, and you had started it back up with Abigail. I'm going to the doctor's later, he replied softly. We discussed this. No, that can't be right. If he was going to the doctor, you'd be with him. You start to protest, but he leans over and grabs your leather journal. Here, read this, he says as he opens the last entry. In your clear handwriting, an entry from 2 days ago reads, George insists he'll be fine. He can be so stubborn sometimes. The doctors don't believe it's anything serious, but I want to go with him anyway. George claims it's more important for me to spend time with the family. I've agreed to go to the zoo, as long as he calls me from the doctor. Suddenly, the entire conversation from the other night rushes back in. How could you have forgotten that? Your face starts turning red with embarrassment. You set the journal down and turn to George, who has risen from the bed. He holds you and says, It's okay. We all forget things sometimes. Well, this is a bit heavy. Hey, if you can't be honest with George, you can't be honest with anyone. Tell him you're scared. Me too, he replies. It'll be okay. I'm here for you. George has got some king energy going on. Absolute king! The zoo is much less crowded than you expected. It's a welcome sight, as finding free sitting areas is much easier. Wow, that's really, that is her father's daughter. You aren't as young as you were, and you always feel guilty making the rest of the family wait on you. At least when George was there, you could sit with him and let the rest go off on their own. Today it feels like your baggage, like they're babysitting you. Near the elephants, you insist that the others can go as they please. You can catch up with them later. You find a nice spot in the shade where you can people watch. You love seeing all the young couples with their children, reminding you of the countless times you and George had brought Sarah and Charles here. You know, the passing of time, in general, not something I like to think about. But here we are. Who are you? Freaks out of my way. The zoo has changed a lot since you first started coming here, but you always feel nostalgic seeing young families here. Try to see the elephants. Ooh, child. Being at the zoo with Sarah brings back so many memories, some more hazy than others. This child? A wonderful husband. You're lucky Sarah found someone so special. I think Sarah's lucky. I mean, it's nice for you, but she's the lucky one. I mean, look at that hair. Can't tie him down any better than you could tie down a cloud. And Abigail's grown so much. Elephant. Sometimes you wish you were an elephant. They never forget. They're also poached. Abigail's favorite animals. This is her first time seeing the new baby. Aww. Elephants are so cute. Like baby elephants, I love them. They're basically humans. They just got a bigger snoot for bigger boop. Sarah approaches and sits next to you on the bench. Where did the others go? You ask her, not seeing them nearby. They're heading to see the penguins. Is there still music? It's just kind of silent. Is that what you're hearing? Because I'm hearing nothing. I hope you hear something. Maybe I'll put something in. Or maybe I won't, to respect the creative ideas. I'll decide in editing. You didn't want to join them? You ask. Penguins have always been Sarah's favorite. No, she says. They wanted me to stay with you. The penguins? You begin telling Sarah a story about one of the times you brought her here when she was little. You bought her a balloon from a cart vendor, but George's knot around her wrist was too loose. Somewhere near the zebra exhibit, it had come completely undone and floated away into the sky. The only thing that could get her to stop crying was her favorite ice cream. You paused for a second, trying to remember the flavor. You had told this story countless times to family and friends, probably even to Sarah before. This time you just can't think of the flavor. You took off into the distance, knowing the answer is on the tip of your tongue. Look off into the distance. Grandma didn't start sprinting randomly. You contemplate calling George. He'll remember. But as you pull out your phone, you realize he's at the doctor's by now. Lost in your thoughts of ice cream in the past, you see Sarah and Arthur approaching. Hope she wasn't too much trouble. We thought she could stay and keep you company while we went to see the penguins, Sarah says. You pause and look next to you. Abigail is sitting cross-legged on the bench, watching the elephants intently. You glance back to Sarah, confused. You begin to panic. Your mind starts racing with questions. Had you been so lost in thought that Abigail had switched places without you noticing? Surely you hadn't been daydreaming that long. Had it been Abigail here with you the whole time? They do look alike, but surely you can tell your daughter and granddaughter apart. My grandma views her daughter as two different people, depending on the context of the situation. She uses her nickname if she's being made to do something she doesn't want to. She uses the full name when she feels she's being treated as she wants to be. You take a few deep breaths and force a smile to Abigail. She was fine, you reply. I was just telling her about the time you lost your balloon. Sarah laughs. Ah, yes, I love that story. Thank goodness for the ice cream, or I still may be crying to this day. How about we grab some on the way home? You still can't remember the flavor. You'll have to ask George when he calls later. Out in the parking lot, your phone starts ringing. You step away from the others to answer. On the other end, George says they're done with their tests, and he's waiting for the results. He asks how the zoo was. Relevance for the young couples. I don't know, I feel like when I'm old and craggly and saggy, it'll be nice to reminisce about young people. You tell them about the young couples you saw at the zoo and how they reminded you of your trips in the past. You forget to ask them about the ice cream flavor. That's fine, it's not very important. You dying? Hold on, is there just no sound? I'm sorry, I was just really into the soundtrack earlier and now it's gone. You always loved puzzles. You and George had done hundreds of them over the years. This one was different though. You can't focus at all with so many questions racing through your mind. You know George will open up when he's ready, but you're worried. His call at the ice cream shop had been vague, but you could hear the defeat in his voice. We'll talk about it later tonight, he'd said. Oh, George. Have you never seen George so hurt? The stuffed toy Abigail bought for you. Doing puzzles and listening to the radio with George is usually one of your favorite activities. You started setting an alarm when you worked on puzzles after you and George caught yourself staying up until 2 a.m. Party animals, goodness gracious. Puzzle with the Earth and the Moon. You've been working on it with George the past few nights. It's a lot like my grandparents. You stare blankly at the half-finished puzzle. After what feels like an eternity, George looks up at you. They think it's from all the nights playing at the bars, being around all that smoke and stuff. You freeze, refusing to look at him. Fighting back tears, he manages to add, "They said I have 6 months." Cry with him. It does no good to keep those emotions in. Your whole body goes into shock. Night. Oh. You've always associated the smell of smoke with your boyfriend, even when you couldn't make it out to watch him perform. At least you got to smell him when he stumbled into bed at night. Tonight, though, he insisted you make it out to his show. Most of your friends preferred the disco, but watching your boyfriend's fingers dancing across the ivories was magical. Halfway through his normal list of songs, with plenty of crowd requests thrown in for good measure, he begins speaking into his old microphone. He calls you over to his piano and motions for you to sit next to him on the bench. He begins playing a song he wrote for you. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever heard. A perfect blend of serious and cheesy. After hitting the last note, He rises from the bench and slowly starts dropping to one knee. Before you can say anything, you leap off the bench and tackle him, rolling on the ground. Between the kissing and grabbing, you blurt out, "Yes, yes, yes," amidst the cheers and hollers of the crowd. George had played on many pianos in his life, but the old creaky one at the piano bar was always his favorite. You can't fabricate the years. Your boyfriend, George, rather, your fiancé, George. Handsome man. I'll let you know, George, doesn't fade away with age. You serving them looks all around. Who are you? A couple of regulars to the bar. They love watching George almost as much as you do. Doubtful. Finally, you let George sit back into his piano and you return to your table, beaming with happiness. Waves of friends and strangers come up to you, congratulating you. It's a boss move right there. One stranger in a nurse's outfit approaches you. Your family is here, she says. You give her a puzzled look. Sarah and Abigail are standing behind her. This is no place for a young child, you think to yourself. Hi, Mom. I'm sorry Arthur couldn't make it. He has some work thing. Arthur. The name sounds familiar, but you aren't sure who he is. Must be one of George's friends. How are you feeling? Sarah asks. Amazing. George and I just got engaged. Sarah's face slowly drops. Papa died, blurts out Abigail. Sarah quickly cuts her off. Abigail, why don't you get your ballet shoes on and show Nana what you've been practicing? Sarah turns back to you. Think you can tell me more about that night? You begin describing everything around you. The people, the sounds, the smells, the emotions. Sarah's smile returns. We're going backwards, I think. Backwards and forwards. Ballet was always your favorite activity as a kid. Even if you were never the best, you loved dressing up and dancing, the feeling of being lighter than air. Recitals made you nauseous, though. People watching you always made you feel strange. You were always nervous about messing up. Your group is the first to perform, and once on stage, you instantly feel free. You forget the crowd and do the routine you've practiced for hundreds of hours. It's kind of reminds me of when I perform stuff. It's really nervous right up until you play the first chord, sing the first note, and all the fear just fades away. Just the confidence of getting up there and actually starting. That's the tough part. As you hold your final pose, you beam with pride while the crowd cheers. You return back to your seat and watch the next group begin their performance. Who recording this? A stranger recording his daughter. In 1957. What are you recording on that's that compact? Your neighbors watching their daughter, they seem so much older than you remember. This is Abigail's ballet, I think. You can't help but feel a little jealous. The older girls are much more beautiful than you. You hope to be as pretty as them one day. I think that's Abigail up at the front there. I think he's recording on an iPhone. And I think this is just confusion. You don't know any of them since they practice a different day than you, but one of the girls looks very familiar. You watch her the entire time, trying to figure out if you've seen her at school or around the neighborhood. When they finish, the familiar girl walks over and sits next to you. Still unable to recognize her, you ask, "Do you go to my school?" The woman next to the young girl overhears this and leans towards her. "It's okay, Abigail. Remember we had talked about this happening?" Abigail, frustrated, looks up at you. "You're my Nana." It's the truth. Doesn't make sense to you, but somehow the girl is right. You watch the rest of the performances in silence. 2018. Okay. Oh, there, we're back here. The doctor enters the room. George sits on the chair next to your bed, holding your hand. You've known something is wrong for a while, but some part of you just hoped it was symptoms of getting older. The misplaced items, the changes in mood, the missing words, these were normal for people your age, right? Oh, this is before the Christmas. George has been patient with you for the most part, but he had finally convinced you to get checked. Just in case, he said. The doctor, short on small talk, asks to speak to George outside. That can't be a good sign, you think? After what feels like ages, they return to your bedside. George's face impossible to read. The doctor calmly and coolly says, "You're exhibiting signs of the early stages of Alzheimer's." He continues on with a long explanation on the varying tests they still want to perform. Despite his reassurance, all you can do is repeat the first sentence over and over in your head. I've discussed with your husband some of the ways he can go about making life easier for you. We think a journal might help you keep track of your thoughts. You're lucky to have someone like him. George reaches down and grabs your hand, squeezing tighter than before. Goodbye. Various certifications and diplomas. His last patient. Brains are such tricky things. We use them constantly, yet we understand so little about them. It is kind of weird. What about you, Doc Man? You want to hate him. This man just completely flipped your life upside down. But you know he's just doing his job, and he's here to help. Yeah, don't hate your doctors, guys. Don't shoot the messenger. There's no one else gonna help you. Various files and records. You wonder how many other people are going to have their worlds shattered in this room today. That is an interesting thought. When you're in a doctor's office, how many people's lives have been changed completely from what they hear in that room? And Jorge? George is silent. He's trying to be strong for you, but you can tell he's struggling. George, it's okay, buddy. Emotions are fine. Suddenly, you wake up. What a horrible dream. You roll over to hold George, but he's not there. He must be up already tending to the garden. Oh, shoot. Go find George. Try to start in your journal. Fall back asleep. Go find George. But I don't think you will. You rise out of bed and begin calling his name. The room feels different. Did George reorganize? 2021. You wake up in a much softer bed than you're used to. The cheerful songs of birds outside. Despite the relaxing atmosphere, you're miserable. You're in a strange bed in a strange room. Your thoughts are spinning, but in slow motion. You try searching your brain for anything, any memories at all. Ruby. Your name is Ruby. Beautiful family portrait. You wonder if you know them. Painting of a house. If you ever buy a home, you hope it looks like that one. That strange alarm clock. A leather-bound journal. It's worn, but not old. Picture on the wall seems familiar, as if you've seen them on TV in the past. Suddenly a rush of deja vu comes across you. You've been here before, perhaps many times. Your whole life feels like it's just on the tip of your tongue, but you're unable to find the answer. A short while later, two strangers, a man and a woman, enter the room. "Hi, Mom," one of them says. I don't have any children," you manage to blurt out. The words are forced, as if speaking had become a chore. You're not even sure if you believe what you said, but you can't remember having any children. You must look visibly upset because the woman reaches for your hand, trying to comfort you. The man walks around the bed and picks up your journal on the nightstand. "Would you like to hear some stories about a woman we know? It's our favorite," he says. "I guess," you mumble. For the next few hours, the man and woman take turns sharing the entries from the journal. Some of them are happy and others are sad. Some seem long ago and others feel recent. The stories are familiar, as if you'd lived them in a past life. With each story told, you feel a little more relaxed, as if life is slowly making sense. The final story they tell is about a son and a daughter who read stories of their family to their dying mother. Just as the final story ends, you smile up at the strangers. I'd sure love to have a family like that someday, you managed to say. The strangers smile, looking at the last line of the book that you had just unknowingly read. Love you, Mom. We'll see you next week. Love you too. You watch them walk out and hope you'll see them again. I'm sure you can infer. My grandma has Alzheimer's. I don't need the dramatic music for me talking about my grandma, but she has Alzheimer's. She remembers me as me and me when I was a kid as two separate people. I think when she comes over, she expects to see me when I was 7, and not me as a strapping young 20-year-old. She doesn't remember who her husband is many days. She loves him dearly, but she doesn't know who he is. She doesn't know who her daughter is. A couple weeks ago, she was over for dinner, and, you know, as long as I've known her, she's confused me with my cousin Craig. And to be fair, we both have similar characteristics, being both video games, both her grandsons, but both have a K at the start of our name. A few weeks ago, she, for the first time that I know of, forgot me completely. It's hard. I mean, how much can I complain about my end of the experience, you know? Can't imagine how frustrating and disheartening it is for her. No matter how old you are or how old your grandparents are, if they're still together in their heads, tell them you love them. I'm lucky my grandma remembers that she loves us. If nothing else, she may not remember us, but she loves us. She recognizes us as people that she loves. I mean, it's the same adage as always. People that you love, tell them that you love them, because you may run out of opportunities to do so. I'm glad that games like this are being made. I think people need to understand these things that are happening. Thank you for watching. My call for this video is just that you go to the people that you love, friends, family, anybody. Just let them know. Outright, without a shadow of a doubt, just let them know how much you care about them and how much you love them. And no matter what happens, they know. And you know they know. And that's a really comforting feeling. Here, I'll start it off for you. I love you. And I hope you have a wonderful day.